Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are focusing on Lesson 19 of the Classic 504 textbook to master 12 absolutely essential words. We're completely tossing out the boredom of rote memorization. Instead, we're going to build a solid mental scaffolding that makes these words stick permanently, giving you sharper tools to express yourself every single day. So let's get right into it.
Here is our game plan for Lesson 19. We'll start with words of quantity, move into words of reaction, see this vocabulary in action, and then wrap the whole thing up with a visual review.
Section 1. Words of quantity. Measuring the world. Now, what's really fascinating about this first group of 7 words, harvest, abundant, calculate, absorb, estimate, morsel, and quota, is how they literally all relate to amounts, crunching numbers, or taking things in. We are going to conquer this list by unpacking their exact definitions right alongside some pretty compelling examples. We'll start with the absolute foundation of human agriculture, and that's harvest. This represents the gathering in of grain or other food crops. It's the physical culmination of an entire season of hard work. And this brilliantly illustrates the word in action. The farmer decided to expand his fields so that he would get a bigger harvest. It just clearly shows how human effort and strategy directly link to the yield you pull from the earth. Now, if that farmer's strategy actually works out, his crops won't just be barely adequate to survive. No, they'll be abundant, meaning he has way more than enough. They are very plentiful. Think of an overflowing basket where there's plenty to feed everyone, and then some. Okay, let's look at a really fascinating comparison. Calculate versus estimate. The crucial point here is the massive difference between certainty and guessing. You calculate exact numbers using hard math, like doing your taxes, but you estimate when making an educated guess. Kind of like estimating how many cookies you can eat in one sitting before anyone actually notices. Next up is absorb, which has this wonderful dual meaning. It can literally mean a sponge taking in or sucking up spilled liquid, or, figuratively, it describes how your mind is hopefully taking in and becoming greatly interested in this explainer right now. So let's look at our last quantity words and see how a tiny, single morsel of food, just a small bite or mouthful, contrasts wildly with a quota. A quota is a rigidly assigned, specific share of a total due that's given to a particular person, district, or organization. One is just a crumb, while the other is a strict mathematical share. Section 2. Words of reaction, rules and emotions. We're moving away from the cold logic of math now and into the highly charged realm of human emotions and societal rules. These 5 words form our reactions chunk: uneasy, threat, ban, panic, and appropriate. You'll actually see these exact words appearing together all the time in tense, high-stakes situations on the news or in thrilling novels. We begin with uneasy. Whenever you feel restless, disturbed, or anxious about a situation, imagine a mother watching her kid play just a bit too close to dangerous railroad tracks. You are feeling deeply uneasy. It's that nervous pit right in your stomach. And why do we feel that way? Well, because that uneasy feeling is usually caused by a threat. A threat is an actual sign or cause of possible evil or harm that's looming on the horizon. When a threat becomes completely overwhelming, people might succumb to panic. Look at this great sentence from the text. The leader of the lost group appealed to them not to panic. Panic is this unreasoning fear where a group just entirely loses control of themselves. To stop that panic, authorities really have a couple of choices. They might ban, meaning completely prohibit or forbid the cause of the fear altogether, or they might step back and look for an appropriate solution, something that is genuinely fitting and set apart for that specific, special use. Section 3. Vocabulary in action, protecting our health. Right, let's ditch the isolated dictionary definitions for a second and see how these 12 words brilliantly build a narrative. Read this passage with me. We are familiar with the abundant use of pesticides by farmers, but today's chemists are becoming uneasy. Notice how the plentiful, abundant use of chemicals is exactly the trigger that makes the scientists feel uneasy and anxious. The story continues. They calculate there are 45,000 different pesticides, and all of them can be absorbed by the fruit. Every morsel we eat in the future may contain a deadly quota. Through exact math, they calculate that the fruit can actually absorb these chemicals, meaning even a tiny morsel might carry a dangerous mathematical quota. And finally, we hit the climax. The threat is real. These government chemists do not suggest that we ban pesticides. They are cautious and do not easily panic. What is needed, they say, are appropriate, budgeted doses. The threat of harm is definitely real, but instead of an unreasoning panic or a total ban, the scientists recommend finding appropriate, well-budgeted doses. It just ties the whole shebang together seamlessly.
Section 4. Visual review and active recall. Okay, you've seen the words defined, you've heard them in a story. Now it is time to put your active recall to the test. Look closely at this illustration on screen. We have a highly chaotic hot air balloon scene. People are completely losing control and literally bailing out midair. Which of our target words for unreasoning spreading fear does this illustrate? Yep, you guessed it, it's panic.
I want you to take a mental snapshot of this final table. This framework is your complete mental scaffolding for Lesson 19. By reviewing these 12 words, harvest, abundant, calculate, absorb, estimate, morsel, quota, uneasy, threat, ban, panic, and appropriate, alongside their core meanings, you are locking them firmly into your working memory right now.
To wrap up, true mastery only comes from practice. So I have a challenge for you. Which of these 12 essential words are you going to use in your daily life today? Take your absolute favorite new word from this explainer and see if you can slip it into a conversation before the day is out. I mean, why simply learn a word when you can completely own it? Think about that as you go about your day. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.